I've got quite a good example, which if ever I'm in a seminar room teaching post-colonialism, is always the clip that I go with. If it's a sort of like cultural analysis sort of angle you're going for, then this is the sort of key example that I tend to show, because I think as a sort of piece of culture, it just really shows what we're sort of working with, and what some of the things we're looking at when we're looking for a post-colonial, looking at a piece of culture through a post-colonial lens. This is a clip from Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark. I don't know if I'm sure people have seen this. And it's a really interesting example of some of the stuff that Saeed talks about, actually, in that if we watch it through, we very clearly have our kind of like American hero, our sort of from the West, who is like on his own, facing off against hundreds and hundreds of these sort of strange, mysteriously coded people. Oh, people saying that audio is fine. That's great. Thank you everyone for the reassurance. And this bit always jumps out as like there's very much a like they're sort of coded as not clean, and one thing you'll particularly notice is that a lot of the sort of bad folks have faces covered, which, in some ways is culturally appropriate, but in others is just really dehumanizes them. And what you quite often see is that there's lots of them, and they're very physicalized, but they're also portrayed as a little bit thick. Like there twice, there's this bit where, she just hides there and then just twangs him on the thing with the pan, and sort of, uses her brain against his brawn to sort of get one over. And then this sort of hiding in the basket and running past. And also interesting that they are being like led by, I think they're German. Someone might be able to remind me in the chat of the plot to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yeah, this is the one. So they must be German, but they're sort of the like brains of the operation. And then eventually we get to this, which is the sort of big moment from the film, right? This is the bit that everyone remembers. Well, this and the opening the box and the thing coming out. But this is just like the perfect example. Where it's like, look at all this strange stuff that this other guy's doing, and then, the sort of technological brilliance of the American to just pull out the gun, shoot, and just casually walk off. I can't find out where it's meant to be set. Is it Egypt? I'm not imagining that. Although that's kind of interesting that it sort of just has this very generic, like, Middle Eastern setting. Cairo does ring a bell. I was just having a look. But the fact that we can't quite work it out sort of says a lot. That it's more about creating a sort of general vibe of otherness and mysteriousness and danger than it is about actually saying anything about Egypt itself. And so it becomes just the backdrop to the adventures of Indy. So that's always a clip that if ever I have to sort of do a very quick intro to post-colonialism, I always think that serves as quite a good one, just because there's just so many aspects of it that just work as a... And it's relatively recent. And part of me wonders to what extent, like how well that represents Cairo at that particular period of time as well. Because when it must be set in... Oh, well, so it's set in the 1940s, isn't it? So, yeah, you look at pictures of Cairo at that point in time, and you have shops. You like, it's not just sort of dusty marketplaces. So it's sort of, yeah. So I always think that's a really interesting example of how, of a sort of text which carries through a lot of the those sort of colonial ideas. And what, the film came out in the 80s, maybe, did it? The Gaming Den saying that that the background is just sort of like the Orient, in ways which do tie in with a lot of those ideas that Edward Said discusses in Orientalism.